Hey!
Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to the Round 5 ratings, Monday, 15th of April, 2024. We are reviewing a loss for the first time this season, and we are going through the ratings for the first time this season. Got Pommy with me as always, mate. How was it this week? I feel like, the honeymoon's over, and with all the injuries that have happened this week, it's like, okay, now the season's really begun.
Don't know what you're on about. I love this time, man.
Yeah,
This is it.
I feel awake. I feel alive.
This is grinding. 15 players are injured. 5-week tough stretch. This is what I'm made for. I am made for being in the trenches. I've lost me. I've lost the guy who blows the whistle. I've lost artillery. You've given me a gun, the wrong bullets. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go. I'll just use my bare fists and get that other bunker.
Yeah, we're going to try and make sense of it all. Welcome to the ratings. If you're new to the ratings, you're in for a treat. What we do is, through the use of an algorithm, we look at every single player that played. We rank them in alignment with their role and compare them to every player in the competition that plays in that exact same role, and also take into account the player that they played against. This is an algorithm built by Pommy. Pommy, what else do we need to know about the algorithm?
Well, you're going to see it. So traditional ratings, just you play yourself, and they're absolutely worthless. If you think about the handicap system in golf, totally worthless, because I know a lot of scratch golfers, 2 golfers. You put a bit of pressure on them there. Club championships comes around, absolutely bobbins. The mindset of being a professional is you've got nowhere to hide. If you're a good player, don't matter what the opposition do. You control what you can control. So this algorithm has a little bit of a secret sauce, if you will, a little bit of PFC, we'll call it. And what that is if the opposition, when they're being rated, they're better, you get punished, and you're going to see that. And Matula, good day to you, my darling. I'm sorry I'm being happy and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Just world's a dark place. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to get too upset about having some jobs to do, to be honest. I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's just get cracking. So what we'll do, guys, we're going to go through every player, go through their role. You'll have a chance at home to take a look at their heat map. We can do a bit of an assessment. You know what I found today? I mean, I'll bring this up on the BA show as well. After the wins, I was just showing up to the shows like, we've won. Yeah, I know exactly what to talk about. After Saturday, mate, the way I watched the replay, it was like second by second, going back, replaying, rewinding second by second. And it just, I don't know if that feeds off into the players, but I know for me, like, it was just, okay, let's try and figure out what's going on. It's a different kind of focus when you lose. It forces you to really snap out of it.
Do you know what I mean? If you lose your job, you can sit at home and cry about it. And before you know it, you're a statistic out on the streets, and you just, that's it. Or, do you know what I mean? You can take a moment, breathe it in, and go, this is what I did wrong, and this is what I'll do better next time. And you improve, and you go on to be Elon Musk. So let's be Elon Musk. All right. Let's do it. Go on, Terry. Give me the players. Let me at them.
Okay, let's get ourselves ready. We'll put ourselves here. And then we will start with, let's start with, where are we?
Oh, wait a minute. Have I put them in overlays?
You put them in overlays.
Hey! Oh, God, what Hey, there you are. Look, Pom's rating already.
There we go. We'll spend a few minutes while Pom just moves these to where they've got to be. But
good job, I moved the show forward, didn't it? Hey,
yeah, just goes to show.
What? Pom's completely drop him. VFL for Pom.
VFL, mate. Out you go. You know what, mate? Winning makes you drunk. You get drunk on that winning feeling. You think you're untouchable. No, it's all good. All right, let's begin. Jacob Wiedering. Wow. So good last week. And that might have been one of the few times I've said to myself, wow, Wiedering got completely outplayed by his opponent.
He did indeed. And, Carlton had a defined plan for their forward line, and it just wasn't executed very well. We played the high line, and unfortunately, Wiedering was the victim of it. And you can see the big plan was get this guy one-on-one with Tex. Get this guy one-on-one. As you can see, that's a high one-on-ones faced. Massively high, right? Massively high, that one-on-ones face. He lost every single one. And this is a man that goes on around about 88% one-on-one. So you can see here quickly it goes against you. So you'll see the pomegranate that we talk about, the pomegranate there. It's all red. Red's not good. Do you know what I mean? Red's not good, chat. And that is partly because his opposite number absolutely shrank his work. And you can see here, usual staples. I've tried to pick some things out that we see for staples of Wiedering's game. Spoils, marks, meters gained. All these were fluorescent blue last week, and this week in the green. And partly they're green because there was so much ball coming towards him.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out when I watched the replay. I mean, some of the moments where it just un-Wiedering like. I think Walker's first goal just didn't get enough. Left too much room between him and Tex. Then there was he completely misread the flight of the ball in the third quarter. About 4 minutes to go, he actually pushed Tex out of the way to create space for himself. Vintage Wiedering, and then just completely found himself under the ball. And then there were just a few misreads and misalignments with his teammates as to who was where and positioning. I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, it wasn't Wiedering's day. It wasn't. He's had two pretty good games on his return. This one wasn't so good, is what it is.
Mate, bank it, move on with your life.
Wow. 3.5. That might be the lowest score we see all year from Jacob Wiedering.
It is, and that just shows you why this algorithm's a bit different to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
If your opponent has a Mickey Mouse game, you're in trouble. You're in trouble in this algorithm. So, yeah, Tex had a good day out. And has to be noted, though, Tex probably is, in my opinion, the best forward in the league at leading.
Yeah.
At leading. It's very intelligent.
Next up, Brodie Kemp. I don't know what his rating will be. I thought this was one of the few wins in defense on the day. How'd you see it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was funny. Carlton have known quite early doors that when any side plays us, this guy's targeted, and that really suits Adelaide's method because it means Fogarty is your man. And that's genuinely how they monopolise their inside 50s. Fogarty goes on what they perceive as the weakness, and they exploit it. So you can see Carlton had obviously worked that in training a little bit. And all in all, he had his moments where it was poor. He had his moments when it was poor, but genuinely, he did well. Yeah. He did well. And you can see here, do you know what I mean? Leading player on ground with intercept possessions. I wanted to highlight his contested ground ball gets because this is a massive, massive improvement and massive stride in his game, working down on the ground and score chains created. There you are. You see, McGovern, Wiedering weren't at the races attacking wise. Kemp did bite the kicks off. Very high kicking difficulty this week. So he did incredibly well, did Broads.
Yeah. I think apart from that last passage of play in the fourth where he and Williams just miscommunicated, misaligned, I think Brodie called it as if he was going to mark it. Then he sort of thought Zach was going to get in the way of him. It was just a fumbled play. But I thought apart from that, it was particularly on Fogarty. Fogarty was a bit of a danger going into the game for me. And I don't think he was anywhere near as influential as what I thought he might be.
These players need confidence when they're new in the team. And Kemp is one who Voss genuinely has shown a bit of faith this year with him. So we need to keep that faith because tell you what, he might have a massive job, like Matty's alluding to. McGovern being out now for 2 weeks. The only person in our list who can do McGovern's job is probably this guy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So we all need him. Brody Kemp with a 6.
Pretty good when you've been hemorrhaging inside 50s as well. 6, I tell you.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of, wow, McGovern. Fascinated to see where this one goes.
So we talked about the trap. Now you can see his hot spots. The trap is quite clever. Adelaide are probably the most one-dimensional side when they go inside 50. It's bit them in the arse this year. And the trap was simple. Saad and McGovern in this short kick area attack that ball. And once Saad went down, the wheels really did fall off on that short kick. And McGovern was suffering because he was having to do it all. And before he got hurt, you can see it here. Great disposal efficiency, great meters gained. But these red numbers needed to be high for it to work. And if they weren't high, you lose. And this is what happens when you bet all on black and it's white. You've got some explaining to do to the wife.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't notice it as much at the game as what I did when I watched the game again today. There were so many uncharacteristic errors defensively from Gov. Just passages of play where he usually just gobbles it up, has a better read on the flight of the ball than most people in the area. And I was quite shocked to see it. I sort of took notes on the most critical passages of play, which resulted in Adelaide goals. I mean, you take your pick. Even that first play, Williams is engaging Ben Keys, McGovern, like it was all there in front of him to gobble the ball up. Just didn't fly hard enough at it. Got caught out in the contest where Keys drills the ball forward to McHenry. Luckily, that ended up being a miss. Didn't kill the... gave too much room to Dawson for that mark deep in defensive 50. That was third quarter, 15 minutes to go. Just uncharacteristic. It was almost like he had an offensive mindset from the outset and he just couldn't switch back to defensive. And yeah, again, probably similar to Wiedering, uncharacteristically poor with decision-making and defensively in certain contests where you expect them to be so much more strong, but, and does a hammy as well, just to make matters worse. So, he'll be right. Get back into the side and tidy it up and, back he comes.
Funny old game. Sometimes everyone's entitled to a bad day at the office and you don't really notice it. Yeah. When everyone has a bad day at the office, you notice it.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's been pretty good and it's just a shame that he and Wiedering both had their days on the same game. So he gets a 4 for his game, Mitch, and hopefully that hamstring is closer to the 2-week than what it is the 4-week. All right. Adam Saad. So we're going to be adjusting this in brackets for what it would look like for the full game.
An amendment.
Yeah, I like this better. Where we can see both sides.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, mate. Talk to us about Adam Saad.
So we've just been talking about the importance of that trap, and you can see from the time played, he played less than 30%. So you can see that as the numbers go, you can see what this could have been. So this would have been quite high, as you can see, because he was, up till the end of his game, until when he came off, performing pretty well. And Saad is someone as well, traditionally when he has these roles, it's probably the second half you start to see him kick ass as well. It's very interesting that he's a student of what you're doing. And he was starting to get the better of them when he came in. So he's, as you can see, it was a meh game, as you would expect for someone who's played less than 30%. But could have been oh so nice, couldn't it? Oh, so nice.
Yeah, hard one to judge. We'll just let that one go. So 5/8.5 if we were adjusting it for a full game. And he's another one with that hammy. I can't believe we lost them both, him and McGovern, to a hamstring in the one game. Like, what are you meant to do? Like, what do you do?
More hams at the moment than an American Thanksgiving.
You lose Chera, McGovern, and Saad all within the space of 24, 48 hours. I think Chera had done his, they said, on the Thursday. So,
yeah,
whatever.
No sugar for them.
You know what it is? It's a welcome to 2024 for all of us. These are the challenges that you got to go through every year, whether it's injury, suspension, misfortune. This is it. So, is what it is. Got
To be
move.
fair, we told Fremantle to take a mugachino of accountability and acceptance. Yep. We've got to now take that mugachino too.
100%. Zachy Williams. This was a delight, I thought. This was a pleasing step forward for Zach.
Well, I mean, this is a big thing for Carlton, and I touched on it in my 5 things we learned, which has just gone live. So if you want to check that out after the Monday show, that would be much obliged. But the makeup down the back needs to be addressed, and it's funny that Zach Williams has kind of like had glimpses. Saad goes off. He's given the offensive role to run, little bit of freedom, and boom, we're seeing some good numbers from him. This is going to be a really interesting predicament for Vossi. If I was Vossi now, I'd be thinking, do we rewind the clock back and give him some mid-minutes as well? Because he was built different. Ground ball gets exceptional from him, winning every ground ball get he went for as well. Meters gained, very good. Rebound 50s, very good. The tackles are where we'd expect it. He really thrived in that role. And it just shows you that we talk about the next man up. People assume that's VFL. I also think that there will be an inclination in the group that you're deputizing for the next person in the seniors as well. So I'm very excited to see what Zach Williams brings next week. I'm just going to ignore Twitter at the moment because people are also alluding that this guy's done a mischief as well. So if I don't let it into my psyche, it didn't happen. So it's all right.
Yeah. No, I feel the same for something you just mentioned there. I mean, I feel like Zach Williams, Nick Newman, Adam Saad, and McGovern all probably give up some numbers of what they could be getting on the stat sheet in order to play a role for the team. So when we do lose a couple of them, it just means that Zach Williams can do what he probably was doing a little bit more of at the Giants, for example, step into a larger role, more responsibility. I think Nick Newman, who we'll touch on shortly, will have to do that. And yeah, I just think it was another step forward to seeing what the best of Zach Williams looks like again. And hopefully, I mean, yeah, I did see Twitter. Hopefully he's okay. Might have been a bit sore. I think he rolled his ankle late in that game as well. So we'll see how he pulls up.
He's got a good surname, so he should be all right. That surname doesn't get injured, so he'll be all right.
Okay. Let's have a look, guys. 6.5 for Zachy Williams. Let's move on. Speak of the devil, Nick Newman. Noodles. How did we look at his game?
You know what's quite sad that probably the hardest working player, I'd actually say he's above Wheatering as well, in my opinion, if I had to give an effort score in the terms of throughout his career. I don't think this guy ever has a bad game. And I think that this guy is one of the few that if you say lockdown, okay, I'll do it, boss. Be aggressive. Okay, I'll do it, boss. And this week, you actually saw when McGovern went down, he actually played that intercept position. You can see leading player in the team for rebound 50s, leading player in the team for intercept possessions, incredible marks. He was one of the few that made himself available on transition, which they didn't do. And look at the tackles as well. So he had a tough job. He had to go to Rochelle when Rochelle went forward. He then went out and helped on Rankine when Saad got injured. He was literally being moved around all the time. One of the only few players in the backline that was moved around to different matchups, showing his importance. Very solid game. And he's going to be a guy now that's going to go from boring to he might have to be a bit exciting in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to him stepping up. No doubt. 6.5. Love it. For Nick Newman. Ollie Hollins. Somehow becoming one of the more contentious players to talk about, and I don't understand why. That's why we have this show.
Ollie Hollins, the new Lockie Plowman, evidently. Do you know what I mean? The new Lockie Plowman.
So annoying.
I mean, this was an interesting one. As you can see, the algorithm really is trying to tell us here that you've got a job to do, right? You've got a job to do. And you can see their effort, killing it, roll, doing pretty well on it. You can see here the defense. Now, this is the big area here. It's that top left quadrant. At the moment, he's making that kind of, looks like, what is it? The Taj Khalifa? He always looks like the Khalifa Towers.
Oh, yeah.
We need to make it a little bit more like the Pentagon in America, make more of that shape. But as you can see, effort indicators are there. This is an interesting one this week. We really did see him really struggle to get close to them. And one of them players was a guy called Jake Saliga, who is probably one of the more tricky customers. And this is the issue with Carlton's high line. We don't have natural width. The width kind of disintegrates a little bit. And Ollie Hollands at times found himself getting really caught in the defensive transition and then getting stuck there. And we saw quite a few times that when Saad went off particularly, he really struggled because Newman wasn't willing to overlap him. And this is when it came a little bit unstuck. And is that Ollie Hollands' fault? Partly. He's an intelligent young boy. Is it the lack of cohesion? Could be as well. But this was one of them games where he'll look at it and he'll have learned a lot because often his attacking deficiency is masked by Saad. This week, really, we needed Ollie. But you've got to remember, he's a second-year player. And I'm judging him now as a top-level player, 7-8-year player, to say, right, let's have the cojones and say, nah, you know what, I'm taking the game on, right? That's tough for a second-year player. He'll have learned a lot in this game, and I'm really interested to see it. I mean, a lot of people comparing him to Binns. Tell me you've never watched.
I can't.
Tell me you've never watched football and you don't understand anything unless mummy and daddy make your bed for you without two different players. And the VFL rap, we touched on that. Binns is working hard to learn what Ollie did. Ollie needs to learn to do what Binns does. But funny enough, both do in junior football. So it's going to be really interesting because they slide him at half forward and Elijah went on the wing. We'll come on to him later. So this could be a little option here for Carlton. They're going to have to fabricate that overlap run from somewhere. So I would say this week, my advice to Ollie would be, when you get the ball, fucking take off, bro. Back yourself in. And if it goes wrong, you've got Nick Newman, you've got some of the big boys behind you. So they're going to protect you. So we need a game. This strikes me as Matt Cottrell 3 years ago when everyone was going, oh, he goes in the VFL when he has 30 touches. Why is he rubbish? Then we came on, if you remember, as sub. We were getting battered and he took the game on. That's what Ollie needs. He needs to slap up the bum. Take it on, bro. You are a proper footballer. Don't be scared. Take it on.
Yeah. 4 for Ollie.
Doesn't help when Saliga's Brownlow form.
Yeah.
I love you, Ollie, though, if you're watching. Sorry.
Paddy Cripps, the skipper. Wow. I thought I wasn't expecting to see the Pomogram look like this. I'll tell you that much. This
is a guy that I don't know, like a really good way of doing. A really good way of what Terry's taught me is, since we've changed this to an algorithm where I just don't care anymore. So I just don't care about the votes, anyone's opinions. I'm just chowing it into the algorithm and saying, you know what, do what you've got to do. Yeah, do what you got to do. I don't care anymore. And one of the things here is I was reading people's views, and usually I avoid it. But now, because we've got this algorithm, it doesn't matter. I can't be influenced because the algorithm looks down on people. It's like I'm perfect, they're not. It's really interesting because people were saying Cripps was horrible, right? And I watched the game and I was like, I actually don't mind it. Do you know what I mean? I watched and I thought he worked hard. He was overrun, and it was a vintage Cripps game, I thought, where he had to stand up. And it's interesting that Charlie Kerner and Sam Walsh were the only two players in the coaches' votes. I would say that I thought he was industrious. He wasn't at his best, but look, 8 tackles, midfield was under the cosh. He stood up. Clearances, He stood up. He was our best clearance player. He kicked his goal. And again, look, this new part of Cripps, score involvement Cripper. We like score involvement Cripper. So it wasn't his greatest game, but you know what? He did what he had to do. It's just a shame he didn't have more of him out there.
For those watching at home, when we look at the heat map, which way are we kicking? Left to screen or right to screen?
Going towards chat, so left to right.
Okay. So we're kicking that way, chat. Okay. Very good. Cripper, 8.5. He definitely did stand up in that fourth quarter. That tackle on Dawson, well, first of all, the goal, the way he positioned himself for that mark came out of nowhere. And then the tackle on Dawson, man, after that tackle, I thought that was the symbolic moment of the fourth where we were overrunning them. We lifted our intensity and it all looked like it was just going to be us running over the top of them. But that's footy. Don't defend well enough. You pay the price.
Mate, Daddy Cripps, he's doing this on about 3 hours sleep as well. Like babies are hard work, chat. If you haven't had a baby, trust me, they're fucking hard work.
Especially when you have to go be the captain of the Carlton Football Club on a weekend.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Then you've got to come off the ground, kids crying, missus is tired, you've got to make a bottle up, feed her. You scroll through Twitter while you're feeding your beautiful little baby, and you see some guy from Wangaratta calling you a twat. Do you know what I mean? Just imagine being Cripps. I mean, I don't know how he does it. Fair play to you, brother. Fair play.
All right, Blake Acres. This guy was... Well, he lights the ground up, hey. This is unbelievable.
You know what? He's starting to get into realms at the moment, is Blake Acres, where, honestly, one mistake, people kill him. And I want to highlight the marks, right? Best player at our club here with the marks. This guy's effort of working behind the ball is insane. And people are saying stupid stuff. Carlton have no structure. The structure was rubbish. Really? Because if you're also saying the structure's rubbish and our execution shit, why was the score so close when they had the better of every statistical department? I'll tell you why. The structure's good. The execution's garbage. And this guy here works so hard to be the outlet. So hard. And the difference between him and Mr. Ollie Hollands is 5 years in the AFL. 5 years in the AFL. He's got the intuition. He understands the game. He understands the moments. And that's something that he'll learn, Ollie. But look, massive meters gained. The pressure actually was working overtime. They even switched him to go and try and help Saligo out to stop Saligo. And incidentally, Saligo's worst 12 minutes were when Blake Acres went on him. Incredibly tough game this for midfielders because they rotate so well. Rankine goes to Cripps, Rankine then goes to Walsh, Rankine then goes to Hewitt. They really tried to find avenues. Blake Acres, though, he's there for his teammates. And if you were going to vote for Tick Clubman, this guy should win it. This guy should win it, and it shouldn't be close. Works so hard for his team. So hard.
Yeah. Interesting here. So he's obviously deployed more in the red zones are more in the forward half here.
Yeah, and this is so when people want to if you analyze this, that's because Carlton plays such a high line, So he's often second line of defense. So you see where them red lines are. Our forwards are actually where halfway between that. He's the next line of defense. But incidentally, when they break through, if you go and watch their string of 2 transition goals, Durden misses one tackle, Ollie Hollands misses the other, right? Akers is next to them both times. By the time the ball's got into the back half of the ground, he's there. That's insane running. For no start. You get no start for that, apart from you get some chubby pom on the Monday, go, well played. That's all he gets for that. All he gets.
Well done, Blakey. Congratulations on 150. 7.5. Very good.
Good work.
Matty Cottrell.
Running down the wind.
A real half forwards game here.
Honestly, this guy here, this is why I say stop giving up on Ollie Hollands, because this was Matt Cottrell in the AFL a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But look at this. We're talking about that line of defence. On the other side, you have Matty Cottrell. As you can see, Blake Acres is the wall one side. Matty Cottrell there. Most kilometres ran on the ground. Pressure acts insane. Score involvements, he was in everything. And this is my big bugbear. So me and I think you're in chat. I have seen you, Richie B. Flat. Good mate of both channels. Great guy as well. Got great taste in movies, as Richard. But we're talking about Carlton's big deficiency of entries inside 50. The most annoying thing is Matt Cottrell and Blake Acres and Elijah, how hard they work to lead, that they're constantly ignored. And if you look on the other side, Saligo, Rankine, Ben Keys, you all saw them, didn't you? Make them same runs, constantly hit, count and ignore these three. And this is a big issue for us. We need to adapt this game plan a little bit, because I think they're stuck between last year's exercise inside 50s, which were the 15th side in the league for taking marks inside 50. However, we're top 5 for inside 50s, and we've got 2 players in the top 10 for inside 50 marks. So let that sink in. There's the problem. Wow. This guy needs the ball more short hit up to get in, because when he delivers inside 50, he's like Uber Eats at your door, ready to feed you.
He's worth a $2.99 delivery fee.
Spot on, mate. Spot on.
Big game from Cots. Good to see him hit the scoreboard.
We love him.
A 7 for Matty Cottrell. As we move to Elijah. To be honest, I was a little bit surprised that he got up for the game. I thought he looked extremely sore the week before. And considering that, the way he played, he seems to get better as a game goes into the flow. He seems to study the game early on and then figure out where and how to impact. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Poms don't love quitters, and Hollands ain't no quitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, he came out there, you could see he was really sore. You could see he was sore. There was a few times he winced. Again, see what I said about Cottrell. This guy's work rate is insane. And special mention, I put the meters gain there. Not something that we really judge a half forward on, but went down to the wing. And they moved Ollie Hollands to half forward, which I do think was an effort to try and get him more involved in the game, which I did like that change by Voss. But again, good score involvements. He took his goal well. His pressure acts are really insane as well. As Matula says, he had a fresh lid as well, which we appreciate. But there's something about Elijah. Thank you very much, Mrs. Pom. There's something about him that he's built different. And he is a really incredible asset. And I really hope Carlton look for them short kicks, because Elijah could be something special. Could be something special for us.
He went for the classic Melbourne boy haircut, which was good to see. I'm telling you, man, I can't wait for him to shave his head. I've seen him with a shaved head before, and that's exactly what we need. Shaved head Elijah.
Mate, EH20. Do you know what I mean? We've nicknamed him that because all Brazilians get acronyms. Very special player. One of my favourites. To watch. Already a walk-up start for Best 22. And I think Cunningham has got a bit of an issue at the moment with the way Cottrell and Elijah are playing.
Yeah. It's a good point, that. Elijah gets a 7 for his game. That's a pretty good score for his position. Corey Durden. Let's talk about Durds, mate. How do we see his game?
Durds is the word. So again, we're judging him here as what he is. So it was a tough game because the score involvements he was providing, but this is where we talk about makeup, right? We can't have Fantasia, Durden, all been doing the same thing. One of them has to be a specialty. And what really annoys me about Durden is he was our leading tackler inside 50. He really did it. However, he played really loose on some of the halfbacks, and a lot of them tackles were as they released the handball, which is needed. And he was kind of let down by his teammates here, because if they put that pressure on early, he could have then blocked the runner and whatnot. But as a small forward, very tough on the ground, very tough there. Was kind of like Gab says, he was kind of like our Lockie Fogarty, but Fogarty is a different machine. but did well when he needed to. Do you know what I mean? Did well when he needed to, and his delivery was pretty good. He's one of the smarter two in the forward 50. You can see he's got a bit of intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell with this game, he found a way to not let it become one of those games where you don't notice him. He did enough just to get noticed, took his moment with his goal. Had, like you said, had the score involvements. I'm a bit surprised to see the pressure acts at 10. He's usually flirting near 20.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, it's the nature of the beast. The short kicks, that was an issue with Carlton there in that forward half of the ground, particularly in the first half. I don't know. I can't tell you what went on. But I mean, one thing with Adelaide is we know they like that diagonal short kick. Port Adelaide and Adelaide are famous for that. They like them short hit-ups. And we did struggle to get close enough to make it stop. So it's not Dird's fault, though. I mean, can't blame him. I know a lot of people have blamed small forwards this week. When you lose by 2 points, when you've been dominated all game, you've got to look at yourself as a 22, I think. But Dird's did what he had to do. It's what I'd expect. I'd expect one of them to do this. So
5.5. It is what it is. That's kind of what you're seeing from him week to week. Harry Mackay. Gee, he started this game in ominous fashion.
He did. And I mean, this is a case in point here. The Blues have got to find a way of not being so reliant on them. And I felt like this was a good little matchup and a good chance here against Adelaide to try and bring them in, particularly after the first half. And again, this is what annoys me. 15th in the league for inside 50s, but look, 4 elite. Best on ground. Do you know what I mean? Contested marks. When you've got 2 players that are so good at this, that needs to be higher because it tells me you're targeting the same 2 players all the time. And this is where we need someone to stand up, whether that's a Lidge, whether that's a Matty Cottrell, whether that's an Ashton Moyer as he develops in the VFL. Someone needs to say, no, demand the ball. You're not noticing me. And Harry's good at what he does. Harry's good at what he does. And this was pretty much the first time we've seen him be a pure forward with Pitternet being in there. And we saw how good he is. And one interesting fact about Mr. Harry Mackay that no one talks about, his ability to dish it off. And he dishes it off quite a lot to his forwards. So 2 goals, 6 of them also are in actions of forwards. So very good game from Harry. He did what he had to do. He can come off the ground with no shame.
Yeah, this was one of the things I noticed in the game and when I watched the replay. First quarter, I mean, electric, dynamite. His shots on goal came from really dangerous parts of the ground. I don't think we were able to get him a shot on goal after that in anywhere near as close to what we did in that first quarter. And then probably that halfway through the third, up until probably halfway through the second, up until close to the end of the third, didn't see much of him. I think Peter V mentioned it here. Do you think having Pito in the side impacted Harry's ability just in that period to get involved in the game? Because it's we're going to talk about it at 7 on the BA show with Leckdog. It's such an interesting discussion around the balance of how much Pito and TDK do we need. And then we take a little bit away from Harry when we want to put him in the ruck, but we don't want Harry in the ruck because it's dangerous, but we do want him in the ruck when he's not impacting games to get him around the ball. I don't know if they've found the balance to that just yet.
I think it's harsh. It's harsh on Pitternet to say it's all his fault for being in, because I mean, it's like when people complain about contract value. What do you want him to do? Say I'm not playing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I mean, Harry is a key forward. He's a big boy, and I mean, at the end of the day, he won his battle, and that's all you can ask for. If you're asking me, do I think Pitternet was the right choice? I think the Blues know that it wasn't the right choice. I think if they had their time again, but I mean, how much do you want to milk it? I mean, the AFL, I don't think Laura Kane and Christiansen are going to call us up and go, oh, you made a mistake, did you? Don't worry, we'll replay it then and you can change your team. 4 points has gone. So the Blues have got to learn from that. But I enjoyed Harry. I really did enjoy how Harry played. Yeah.
Still took his contested marks, mate. That's still was one of the dominant forwards on the day. 7.5 on your H. Matty Owies. Oh boy. Had a moment to forget, but I thought he still did some nice things.
Another gentleman who fits into the Ollie Hollands category. There is a large portion of Carlton fans that may tell you they want flags, but really they just want the world to burn so they can say that they were right, which may be because they've never been right about anything else. I mean, it's never happened to me, so I can't tell you. But again, go back and see what I said about Durden. If you're going to play three small forwards, one of you has got to have a defined role, and three of you are doing three different things. So he took his goal well. We know he will, right? The forward 50 ground ball gets, again, this is more of a defensive position. So we're expecting one of these to be the pure defense. But then, look, no tackles inside 50. Wasn't really bringing people in. At times, he's kind of waiting for the ball to get out the back, and it doesn't. And then also, he missed that shot, which he's going to be crucified for. But, I mean, look at this. I don't think Matty always goes home at night and goes, oh, it's all right. Do you know what I mean? It's all right. I mean, these things happen, and the Blues with that level of dominance shouldn't be relying. See what I said about Fremantle? That level of dominance in that 10-minute period, they shouldn't be relying on him to kick a goal. Do you know what I mean? Someone should have got that turnover straight away from the kick-in, kicked another goal. That's how it works if you're good. So, not the best day out of the office for him, but then again, he's won his games, hasn't he, Matty always?
Yes,
so,
certainly.
Do you know what I mean? I'm sure he'll be back stronger.
I thought it was interesting. People were ready, willing, and able to go for Owies and Ollie Hollands and didn't once mention Wiedering and McGovern, who made more errors, I would say.
I can tell you why. That's quite simple. Because they want to delist these players. They want to terminate their players. They want to sack them, right? And they know that even with their level of stupidity, they'll never sack Wiedering. They'll never sack Cripps, right? What happened? That A-list stars. So it's a clinging on because you know, right, if Matty always gets delisted, there'll be 22 posts from different podcasters going, we told you this June 2022. And then they'll feel validated, right? As opposed to trying to do what I do and put a lot of time in and what you do, Terry, trying to say how they can be better so they can keep their careers. It's a different mindset. You know what I mean?
5 for Owies.
We need them to be better, and we need the midfield to hit the targets, and we need them to really demand the ball a bit more. And I felt like Owies was the man. If I had my halftime team talk with Owies, I would have been like, "You're guaranteed 2 goals a game. Put your hand up. Put your hand up. Demand the ball. Demand the ball."
Let's move on. Charlie. Deployed mostly in that 50. He was, wow. He was a lot stronger this week. For a bit longer too.
Tell you, there's a reason he's in the coaches' votes, do you know what I mean? Like, this guy here worked tirelessly and probably one of the few that got the best of his man all game. Game. And it's a shame because Josh made a good... no, it wasn't Josh. I can't remember who it was, so apologies. Your name came too fast. I think it was Damien, about them running into each other. This week, we really did see that pressure of being a deep entry and them getting in each other's way. And it's probably the first time we've seen it for a good few games. They have been getting around. But he worked so tirelessly. And there was a lot of leads where he came up that flank where we ignored him. So it was too late. But again, leading player in the team marks on the lead, which we're looking for. Leading player inside 50, joint with H. Score involvements, again, dishing it off and took his goals incredibly well. So, and this is a big issue. So, like, people say mindless stuff. Bad kicking is bad football. I appreciate that. But also look at why you had 14 goals for, because some of these marks are shots at goal in that top half of, he's made like a willy shape in the right. They're at the top end of it. Where if you look at Tex, they're in the bottom end of it, where you do score goals. And we're just fortunate that Harry and Charlie can kick goals from 50. If you had a normal key forward, this wouldn't happen. So incredible game from Charlie. And it's a shame that we couldn't have backed him up a little bit more at the first stage of pressure and then behind him.
9 for Charlie. Wow. Phenomenal. Wow. When he kicked that goal, 8 minutes 50 to go in the fourth to put us up 16, I was so sure, because we had been dominating that entire fourth quarter. I was so sure that was the damn wall being broken. Yeah.
They tried. I mean, people talk about our entries inside 50, but I've been in this country now 12 years. I don't think Carlton have ever been a good delivery inside in the time I've been here. Do you know what I mean? And it's a weird one. It's a weird one because when you see Adelaide, when you see Geelong, Hawkins is getting the ball 25 metres out of goal on an angle. Jeremy Cameron is the freak show like Carlton, like Kerno and Mackay. They're getting it a bit deeper, but we don't really help them out. And it's literally as simple as having one extra kick. But the great passage of play in the third, Blake Acres gets the ball from a handball from Durden. He bursts it into 50. And if you look to his left, Charlie's unmarked. Owies is unmarked, but he goes straight to Harry at the goal square. It gets turned over, bang, goal on turnover. And it's them little moments there, having a little bit of composure and a little bit of intelligence, which, I mean, I'm going to back them in. They learn quickly, these boys, but they need to learn damn sharp because these are the type of games you can win by doing that.
Yeah.
By doing that, because on another day, you can't have your time back, but just getting a bit better at that. And we're now talking about 1%ers, Terry. We're talking like this, bro. It's this close. And that's what's annoying.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? These little moments are costing us games now, as opposed to what it used to be back in the day. We weren't even talking about the little moments anymore. We were talking about entire quarters or entire patches. Just goes to show
the biggest thing you'll see is Josh Rochelle. I think Josh Rochelle needs a bit of a standout. I know it's a Carlton show. In the press, slated, is he the most overrated draft pick? He's been dog shit. They're 0-4. It's all Rochelle's fault. All Rochelle's fault. It's all Rankine's fault. These are their prime picks. These are their prime trades. Opening quarter, Rankine and Rochelle dished it off. Do you know what I mean? Dished it off. Even though they needed the goal to get out of the drama in the media, they dished it off. And that's a big thing that we can learn from. Do you know what I mean? Being willing to give it to other people. Give it to other people. And that's going to be an interesting development from the Blues this week.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's move on. Talk about TDK. Clearly a different type of game, given that Pitto was inserted into the team. And that meant the role was shared.
Yeah, I mean, Pittonet on the ground half the time. And when he was in the ruck, which then moved TDK. And this is back to what we were saying earlier. Give TDK the job full time because it's a very rhythmical-based game. And you could see this really destroyed TDK's rhythm. Just when he started to get good, he was pulled out and he had to go somewhere else. And you can see below average for hit-outs won, score launches, which we were praising him for last week, they were down, tackles, clearances. And it's an interesting one. I'd love to sit down with Vossi because Pittonet and TDK tap down in two different ways.
Yep.
2 different ways. And it's like the midfield get used to one and then it's something totally different. I don't quite understand how it went, but he battled hard, and I did like his wing work this week. They had him as the outlet ball, which is a double negative because Adelaide pushed us out wide, knowing it'd slow us down. But he did what he had to do on the wing. He was serviceable. So I'm loving his defensive work, though. Like, that's why I put the tackles there. I'm really enjoying his second and third efforts. It's going to be interesting if they continue with that Pittonet thing. I'd love to sit Vossi down and ask, is that something that you continue with? Because I don't see how it works with the system he's adapted this year.
Do you think potentially, I noticed he's pretty much 50% of his right leg was strapped. Do you think that had something to do with why Pitto played? Maybe Tom was a bit sore going into the game because he didn't have that much strapping on the right leg last week. Like it was from above the right knee, pretty much all the way down to his calf.
Well, I mean, with the club confirming that the injury was on Thursday, they named the team that night. So, I mean, they would have probably known what was going to happen. So, I mean, I would suggest that I think they maybe got it wrong. I think maybe they thought that they were going to get. We know the stoppage clearance game from Adelaide has been equally as bad as ours this year, and they've been panned for it. Maybe there was an element of that we can put a bit of pressure on them and get the ascendancy early. I don't know, Terry. I mean, Ruckman are always going to be hurt, bro. It's a tough spot. You played Ruck.
True.
You know what I mean? It's hard yakka, bro. It's hard yakka. Isn't it? I think, honestly, it probably came down to Jack Carroll, him, and then they were probably looking at Cowan and Binns. And the AFL has this weird stigma you don't debut off the bench. Jesus, ridiculous. And I think Voss likes an impact player off the bench. I'd imagine, though, we're all generals after the battle. If you told him Sard and McGovern would get injured, he would probably have changed his philosophy, and Binns may have started or been sub, and Carroll may have come in. So it's an interesting one, but I mean, we'll never know, will we? I mean, if TDK is hurting something, unfortunately, this is the game you play, my friend.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right. TDK got a 4.5. Let's take a look at Georgie Boy Hewitt. Loves beating the Red Pentagon, this guy.
Very solid in what he did. And I think the only time Rankin may have questioned his existence as a midfielder was probably when he got crunched by this guy. There was actually a great image of him on Getty Images because the pain in Rankin's eyes, you feel it. Because when Hewitt tackles, he tackles to hurt. Incredible ground ball gets, the pressure acts, Mr. Consistency. So this is a real important game. And I said it in my 5 takeouts. I don't want to give the video away, but watching this game, it did tell me that I'd love to see when we come to Walsh, Hewitt, Cripps and Kennedy as the on-ball 3, with Walsh making the darting run we saw this way. It'd be very interesting to see how it is, because all 3 of them have this uncanny ability to stop you getting to the ball first. So he's a very special player. I'm a big fan of George Hewitt, and he'll be a guy that probably won't get the credit this week, but if they all worked as hard as he did in the middle, Jesus, we'd be good. And that's quality. Dynamic's always good. I love his banter.
Dynamic Hypnotic might be one of the all-time people in the
I want a beer with Dynamic, legit.
Hey.
I reckon I'd be creasing.
All right. 7.5 for George Hewitt. Oh. He has symmetrically completed the pomogram in a way that no one else has this year. Holy crap. That's unbelievable, Sam Walsh.
I don't think he'll be ready to come back.
That's really the perfect game, no?
I'm glad he wasn't ready to come back, because Jesus, what would he have done to the algorithm if he had a bit of a block of training? I mean, here it is, and I want you to notice the red. So this is a real exciting little thing. So if you want to take anything out of our centre contest work, what was really apparent this week is ignore all the media hype. There is obviously a preordained plan, and Walsh being deployed not on the ball but in the square, and Sard and Williams running up to join them very quickly. Really, really interesting with this, because this kind of got me excited a bit. And that's why I said to you, the Kennedy, Hewitt, Cripps, is that something that they go down? Because they just need to stop the entry, the exit, and then the handball to this guy. He was insane. And I want you to look at these numbers, because we're not talking about a human being. There was an article this week made regarding, is Rosie a better player? Would you rather have Rosie? And this is why you'd be a moron to say Rosie's better, because I would say the intelligent answer is they're 2 different players. But if you were picking one to build your team, this is the one, right? This is the one with Walsh. Look at how he works. Defensive half pressure acts, 15, leading on the ground, right? Then you look at the attacking numbers, score involvements, 9, clearances, best on ground, ground ball gets. This guy is not only tough, but he's skillful. And this is Sam Walsh's midfield. I described it as Judd passing the baton to Murphy. Murphy passed the baton to Cripps. Cripps is now passing the baton to Sam Walsh. This is Sam Walsh's midfield, and this is something incredibly special to watch. He's an incredibly special player.
Yeah, and to think that he's actually going to get better
Potentially.
somehow.
I mean, if he doesn't, he's already perfect.
Correct. Well, 13 tackles is the other one, which I thought was a bit of a statement to the footy world, we'll call it. I don't know what motive. I'd love to know. I don't know if he would talk about it openly during his career, potentially afterwards. But I would love to know how many of the... I mean, I know that players shut out the external noise as much as possible, but you can't escape it. And I would love to know how many names he's taken down on his list of people who he just, uses what they say is motivation. I just want to remind everyone that a month ago, 13th of March, this was said.
Sam Walsh, I was told by someone at Carlton last week that watching him run is like watching an old man run.
It's just amazing.
Well, there we are. I've updated the good spot chat as well. Unfortunately, Hewitt's heat map was on there. So that is Walsh's there.
Oh, okay.
So as you can see, typical Sam Walsh, he always makes a willy in the centre of the ground. So
yeah, that's
very Sam Walsh. But you can see there, look, works everywhere. So he is incredibly strong. And Mitch Cleary, what can I say? I mean, this is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem with content creators. It's the problem with the AFL media. Gone are the days where we actually put a bit of effort in before we turn our camera. Gone are the days where we, you know what, we come out of our own self-importance and our own existence and go, you know what, I'm going to put some research into this. They just say it because they hope to be right. Tell you what, if that's a man who was in a moon boot, in a wheelchair, walking like an old man 6 weeks ago, thank Christ he is, because he made it look incredibly easy.
Yeah. On your Walshy. 100 games. He's a star. Does he get the 10? He gets the 10. He gets the 10. There you go.
All right.
Okay. Who is next? Can I just look at... Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this guy makes his debut on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Now look at him. Lighting up the defensive half of the ground. Literally gets better every time he plays.
He is. It's going to be a really interesting defensive makeup, because you'd say now that when you look at the backline with the outs, Adam Sada, Mitch McGovern, I'd say Mitch McGovern's quite easy to cover for Carlton. Whether that's they go boring and they go a Young or a Marchbank, or do they go intelligent, bring Cowan in and keep Kemp doing what he's doing, which he's doing pretty well. It's going to be a very interesting little makeup. This guy here is naturally developed to be Zach Williams. So Zach Williams goes to Saad. That's the easy one to cover. We're lucky there. And then is it a Pom Cotter? Does Pom Cotter get the run to be a line breaker? It's going to be very interesting what they do. But Boyd, Carlton play a very weird system. So this is a bit of intel for you, but they call it the fifth man up, they call it at the club. And this is an extra player deployed at stoppages at the back, and his whole job is just to hit targets, right? That's why you see Fantasia really high up the ground, because he's got skill. Their roles are very defined. It's either hit targets or run it out, right? Be skillful. This guy here, Boyd, is that kicker behind. He's very clever behind the ball. Very clever. You see him, he switches it to the wing. He switches it to the back pocket, buys himself time. Real hard game. And he's really starting to add some elements to his game. Efficiency, incredible. Ground ball gets, though. These are understated little facets, because people do it, I think, in my opinion, with a bit of disrespect. He's more than a kick. He's more than a kick, because he works hard, uses his body well. Very, very clever footballer. Very clever footballer. And he's a guy that, again, be careful when you want to sack Ollie Hollands. Be careful when you want to sack these young players. It takes them a time to build a bit of consistency.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the chat I had with him last week, go and check it out. What strikes me about him is the balance in which he has in between life and footy, and how he's able to be so focused on game day, and then away from footy just checks out, doesn't even look at the game. There are many players who are like that. I'm pretty sure Darcy Moore's like that as well. Really impressive young man, really impressive human being, good character, has the minerals, I like to say. And I mean, he did many great things on Saturday, but that kick to Charlie inside 50 was a bullet. And we're getting to a point where I want to see him with the ball in his hand, like at all costs, particularly with Sard out of the team now.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, the only thing he probably lacks is that breakaway direct speed, but he has got it. He has got that speed. It's just it's the role is quite limited. There is a footballer in the UK called Ben White, and he's the same. Hates football. His dad hates football. His mum hates football. He literally played football to get out of the house, and he happened to be good at it. And he talks, there's a real good interview with him saying that he doesn't know the name of the players he's playing and things like that. Like, he just doesn't care. But he says it allows him to focus so much on his game because it's now a job. It's not a passion. So he comes at it with a different approach. And he says the losses don't hurt. Things like that. He gets, and you can see that with Boyd, because I would say bang for buck from where he was to where he is now, like, incredible improvement.
Yeah. And seems to be getting better, more confident. 7.5 for Jordan Boyd. Wow. Matty Kennedy. Jesus. Look at that. I don't think I've ever seen a heat map for Matt Kennedy look like that before. It's everywhere.
I want to be angry. I'm
Why?
going to be angry here. This is probably my only rant at the club. You know, I'm well behaved now and I look pragmatic, but please, someone at the football club, give him a defined role, man.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so sorry for him because he was the first person who was moved as soon as it all went wrong. He was moved down to the back line. Right? He was really playing some nice football in the forward half of the ground, and he was getting a bit of mid-time, and he was having a bit of fun with it. And he works so hard defensively with the marks. And you could see the halfback flank worries me because he's not the greatest ball user. And you could see that they wanted someone to take the game on. That's not his game. But what an incredible servant. And there, look at that one-on-one ground, 75% win ratio. That is insane, man. So it's an interesting one with Matty Cottrell because he's too good to be an it's a player. But he probably can't be a full-time mid. But he works incredibly hard. And you know what? Fair play to him. I'm a big fan.
Wow. It's hard. How do you get the best of him when you know that the best of him is a midfield player? But there are so many others that you want to play through there.
Yeah, he probably is just time against him. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is the thing, like when people say, oh, just retrain him. Like, he was born in 1997, so that makes him, what, 28 next year? It's a bit too late. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit too late because your career's gone before you know it. A year or two to retrain, but incredibly works hard. And that's why I said maybe that is something that Carlton will look at with how they played Walsh and how they play Chera. Maybe you might see him sneak into the midfield and they go a little bit more ostentatious, which they can do if Pitternet's not there. That would be my advice to the selection committee. Pitternet's not there and you want a big oath, play Kennedy, let TDK do it.
Yeah, right. Well, a 6.5 for Matt Kennedy. And
that's based, he's been judged on 3 different roles for that rating. 3 different roles. So basically imagine someone getting 6.5 for 20 minutes. Per position. That's pretty impressive.
All right. Orazio Fantasia. Have we seen him play deep this year yet? Deep in that forward line yet?
So like I said, they like that extra around stoppages, and that's a positive. Although the stoppage game isn't insane, there is definitely a change in plan to be a bit more aggressive. And one thing that no one talks about is counting out hemorrhaging scores from stoppages, which we were last year. Last year, we were scoring a lot, but hemorrhaging from there as well. And when it went wrong, the press panders. Do you know what I mean? Because we were one-dimensional. So there is a specific reason for that you've just got to look for it. It's interesting with Pomtasia because I don't know. I just like for me, it feels like it's just kind of reputation now, and you can't play him in the VFL because there's no point. But I want him in the forward pocket, bro. That's what he is. Like, that is who he is, and you can't escape it. And I want to see him play in the forward pocket at the fall of the ball, and we throw someone else to do that job. Do you know what I mean? Throw someone else to do that job. I don't care who it is, but feel like he needs that forward pocket role. Like, if that's dropping Owies, if that's dropping Durden, so be it. But it's almost like we're trying to force the jigsaw piece in, and it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I'm so confused with how to look. I mean, there was a passage of play, the one where Owies kicked the goal, but they called it as touch, 6:36 to go. And as I'm watching the game, the commentary made a comment that it was the first crumb inside 50 for the game for Carlton. And straight away, my mind goes to, well, I know Fantasia played and has been playing up the ground. I don't know what it is. Is it just because maybe Martin's not there yet? He's playing Martin's role, like we said a few weeks ago.
I mean this with all due respect. Always Durden, they're not the most creative footballers. They're hardworking, though. They're hardworking. They find the right place at the right time. I just feel like that's what's missing in that forward line. A bit of creativity, and we're waiting for Motlop to get fit, and we're waiting for Martin. Just do it. Give him the game. Give him the game in the forward pocket. But I like the fact we're trying new things. I mean, the biggest criticism of Voss at the start of his tenure was he was not trying anything.
Yeah.
Can't hang him for trying something.
That's true. 3.5 for Fantasia. Calamari, stay tuned. You will have an opportunity to win 2 tickets for round 6. Actually, the entry is in the live chat. You'll see it as well in the 7 p.m. show, but you will have an opportunity. Stay tuned. 3.5 for Fantasia. Then we get to Pitternet. Amazing. It's the trademark Mark Pitternet.
To be fair, it's an absolute waste of my resources doing a heat map for him, because it really is. This has been the same heat map.
You know what?
Map for 20 years.
You know what? He came on and made impact straight away, kicked a goal in the first quarter, and I thought, wow, Pitto, get in there, son.
You know what, though? I mean, Lockie Jack, good friend of the channel, he's the goal. The goal was absolutely ridiculous, though. I mean, that was pretty impressive. But, I mean, let's look at it. Let's judge him of why he's in, right? 6 clearances, right? 6 clearances. He did a good aspect of that. The score launches, he really did set us up from stoppage and clearance. And that's really important to remember. What everyone's complaining about is Carlton's scoring from it. Damien's mentioning the 50%. He always does, though. He always plays under 60%. This is the issue we've had with Pitternet. He doesn't get a full game time. It's a real interesting thing, because people talk about Carlton's slow midfield, and you hear these things. That was true last year. This year, they've got really creative with the 666 and really creative with where they place midfielders to generate the outside run. So now Carlton aren't really stymied by that. But it felt like you had, literally for the first time, it was 2 guys doing one person's job. That was the impression I got from this game. And I know people are slating Pitternet, and it's not fair. This is what he is. Like, sometimes in life, you all want to, like, you know what? The other day, my son said to me he wanted to be a singer, right? Honestly, when he sings, it sounds like you're trying to cut a cat's throat with a glass. So I had to sit him down and go, you're going to have to work really hard. And you've also got to understand there's a key element, talent, key element in it. It's a lie. If you work hard, you can get it. But there's also natural ability. And you can tell a singer who's naturally gifted versus someone who's mechanical. People wanting Pitternet to be Tim English, blooming Max Gorn. He's 200 centimeters of pure rock solid, right? He ain't going to do it. That heat map's been his heat map since he was 12. You know what I mean? Like, so For what he does, he's good. I feel like it's an interesting one with Pitternet, though, because the game style we play, you can't play TDK. You need an extra midfielder. And you saw that this week with the way our ball movement worked. One midfielder down didn't look as good. And this is going to be an interesting one with Pitternet.
Well, the other thing to know, there's a couple things to note. Going into the game, Riley O'Brien was the #1 ruckman in the league when it came to hit-outs per game. And I know that that doesn't tell the full story. Then the second thing was we weren't able to see enough from Jack Carroll as well. I know Cherry didn't play. Once Jack Carroll came into the side, he played 57% game time, got hurt in the fourth. Got the knock in the fourth. We just didn't get enough around the ball. I would argue the reason why we lost is because our defenders let us down. Our senior defenders let us down. Not because Pito played and Cherry didn't. I would say our defenders let us down and we were inaccurate in front of goal in the second half. And that's why we lost the game. Not because Pito came in and Cherry didn't play.
I mean, you've only got to look, though, like where his strengths are. TDK's lost that this week, right? TDK's lost that. So this is the big thing with it. But Pitternet's not responsible for Carlton kicking. Carlton couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo at times.
Yeah.
Right? That's not Pitternet's fault, right? Pitternet did what Pitternet did. Like, if anyone's saying he's a 1 out of 10 or should be dropped or sacked, what's he meant to do? Like, what's he meant to do? I've seen Pitternet play for Box Hill when I used to go down there and live in Baronia. That is what Pitternet does. Like, so, do you know what I mean? Yeah, it is. It's just interesting. In my opinion, all due respect to Pitternet, it's got to be TDK full time because TDK can work it around the ground.
Fair. Well, a 5 for Pito. Good to see him kick a goal for the first time in 3 years.
Good goal as well. I'll tell you what, as a striker myself, hard to do when the ball comes at you that quick. So well played.
Yeah. Well played. Oh,
you didn't see it.
You didn't see it. Jack Carroll, the sub. How'd you look at his game? Got the nasty knock as well, which probably impacted his final 13 minutes.
Not a lot to see, really, from him in the terms, but it did say to me, this is why we want that extra midfielder there. This is why we want the extra midfielder there, because you see, look, straight away he got into the clearances. He gave us a different dynamic. The pressure acts, do you know what I mean? It was starting to that. It was an if-only game. But this game here is saying that it's a 5.56 type game if he plays the full game, which is what we want from that extra midfielder. So it's going to be really, really intriguing when they look back at the tape. How do we fabricate that? Because it's getting a bit harder with all the injuries we're having. It's all well and good saying let's have but people are forgetting the VFL, Billy Wilson's out for a week. Do you know what I mean? Minimum, because that was also a concussion as well as a shoulder injury. Do you know what I mean? So options are getting slim. Like, I've heard rumours that Nick Austin has been calling my old coaches to see if I was any good at soccer and then get me in as a Category B rookie. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're slim pickings, my friends. Slim pickings. But I like what Carroll gives. I felt he was stiff to be sub. I really did. I thought I've really been proud of how he's played.
Well, he got a 5. And it would have been a 6 had he played it out based on the calculations. So
Good
that's
chin.
that. Yeah. Yes. Took the hit well. Let's have a look at the team. So those of you who watch every week, you start to get a picture of what the profile looks like for what we're looking for. So you will be able to pick up on some things straight away. And here it is. All right. Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 6 in the red. Well, if you include Sard. 1, 2.
Yeah. So, I mean,
That's
big
tough,
problems.
Tough.
Big problems in the terms of that where we've been praising them because although the scores haven't been batshit high, they've been all fairly level across the board. This week, we've seen players struggle. And remember the old rule: for every orange, we need green. For every red, we need blues. Well, the Reds are taking over, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Which is a shame for my football team. It'd be nice if the Reds were taking over, but I mean, this is where it happens. Do you know what I mean? When you're not at the races. But what is good, if you want some positives in this, 2-point loss, and a lot of players have polled their worst game in a long time.
2-point loss, playing with plenty of errors, scoring 98 points, generating 28 scoring shots, and your opposition has the game of their life, kicking 16 goals for, and you only lose by 2. That's an 8-goal loss 4 years ago.
Yeah, it is. It is. And do you know what I mean? We're a team as well that people forget. It's a team defense. So pressure is a key component. This is why Voss puts it on. And you can see them. Look at the small forwards that are responsible for that, right? Bearing in mind that a lot of them small forwards that have scored poorly score usually because they get a lot of tackle pressure. So, do you know what I mean? Yusuf, though, like, if only. Do you know what I mean? If my nana had wheels, she'd be a bike. Like, you won't get very far in sport if you deal with if onlys. You know what I mean? In fact, you won't even turn pro. So you've got to look at it this way. The boys have got to look and go, we were rubbish. We lost. What can we do to win? What can we do to win? And that's going to be the test now of this coaching group, because no Chera this week, no Saad this week, no McGovern this week. Backs to the wall. GWS are the greatest team ever to play the game. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot riding on it. So, I mean, let's be honest. Do you know what I mean? If I wanted erratic decision-making and erratic statements, I'd go back to when I was 13 and hear my nan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But this is sport.
Gav, I felt the exact same watching the replay. I mean, I took note of what I had sort of thought of in my mind as critical moments. Some of the goals that we gave up due to just not being as laser sharp with our focus and as desperate to defend in the first 3 quarters in particular. I'm sure just by simply watching the tape in front of your teammates, pointing it out, and that dirty feeling after a loss where you know you've let the team down, I'm sure that gets rectified. And yeah, I think we're a lot better than what we showed. And I think it's a bit of a reality check, bit of a humbling, which is never a bad thing, to just be reminded that you got to get back to the basics and what got you into this, winning streak that we're on, if you want to call it, 14 of 17, I think it is. So yeah, bit of humbling. Go back, watch the tape, and we've got to learn to get some more laser sharp focus in games for longer. Otherwise, we get punished, and it's exactly what happened.
This is elite sport, you know what I mean? And you've got to be good. You've got to be good. West Coast destroyed Richmond. GWS lost this week. If you're not good and at your full faculties, you're stuffed. You're stuffed. And the Blues need to learn from this. And
isn't it also? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so the proof will be in the pudding when they play finals, if they've learned from this. When it's not gone their own way, the game plan's not worked. Can they shift? Can they adapt? Can they take their chances? Because when you kick 14-14, that's where you've got to say, we had the chances to win this game. So that's where the only if only comes. You can't just say if only, because that's like West Coast saying if we weren't shit, we'd win. It's a ludicrous statement. What they've got to say is, how do we not be shit? How does the if only not happen? So that's where the Blues are going to learn this week, right? They're going to look at this game and go, how do I get better when this happens? How do I stop wasting chances? What can be, and that will make them a better team ultimately at the end of the day.
Isn't it funny how last week we get a bit of good luck because you can't question how well we defended across the ground for the 4 quarters. And then this week, we did not defend across the 4 quarters anywhere near to the level that we did the week before. And the luck went against us. I think there's a poetic beauty in it.
Yeah, there is. There is. But I mean, our complaints are no different to Fremantle's complaints. Do you know what I mean? And in another day, we could have lost that game. And the warning signs were there from Fremantle. They pushed us out wide. We didn't have a plan. And it's funny, they did actually, I'm going to give them a bit of backing here. They did actually have a plan. They had the trap with Sard and McGovern, which they didn't have versus Fremantle. They put all their eggs in that basket. It backfired royally. The forward pressure was down. Midfield pressure was down. So when people say it's the defending, it's not just the defense. It's not the back line. Carlton defend as a team like GWS. There's a lot of similarities in the way both Kingsley and Voss play in that defensive mindset. So when it starts to go wrong, it went real wrong. It went real wrong. And then when you're not taking your chances, but then you can't blame Charlie and Harry because some of them kicks are like, with your Auntie Petunia in row Z near the Medallion Lounge. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what are they meant to do, Terry? Like, what? Like, sometimes we send our boys out with rubber bullets, forgetting that the opposition have machine guns with real bullets in. So that's something that this week backs against the wall. Everyone is going to say Carlton are going to lose. No doubt half the fan base will be hoping they lose. So imagine being them. Just imagine being them. Imagine being them right now. Because that game, when I watched the replay, there's about 25 moments where a player will hold his hands up and go, I fucked up there. And that's not luck. So big question I hate in sport, especially when I was coaching tour players, is if one of them came to me and said, I got unlucky there, Dan, I'd be like, no, you were just shit. Don't ever confuse luck with a real thing. There is no such thing as luck, right? You put the ball in the right position enough times, you'll get a good bounce, right?
More times than not.
If you hit it off the shank and it hits a tree and it hits a crow and it goes back on the fairway, you should be asking a different question. That's not lucky. Why did I shank it? And why did I have to rely on that crow dying to get back on the fairway? Like, so you've got to put it in the right position. So the boys here, again, right position every time.
Yeah.
And Adelaide, what, 14-4, 12-4? Every inside 50 was in the right position. It was right in front of goal. Couldn't miss them.
That's true.
Like 3 of Ben Key's goals, he could have got his willy out. Just tossed the ball in the air and gone through.
Isn't it funny? We turned him into whatever we turned him into. We played Ben Keys into a 3-year contract extension. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Ben Keys would hate playing for Carlton, though. So, like, you watch Ben Keys, and if Ben Keys played for Carlton, he'd struggle because he makes that hard lead from the pocket, opens the midfield up, he gets into that midfield defensive zone, and he gets hit. The target comes in, right? But then you watch Carlton, and this is what really annoys me. Matt Cottrell made that run all day. Elijah was doing that for 3 quarters, and he got hit twice. Do you know what I mean? Twice. Like, if he had Adelaide's delivery, we'd be having a conversation now. 3 Brownlow votes, Elijah Hollands. And that's the situational management. That's where they're going to get better. They have to get better. They have to get better. Have to.
Yeah. Well, we have to go because the Blue Abroad show starts in 7 minutes. And I need to stretch my legs. But there's your ratings for round 5. Pom, thanks very much for putting that all together. Thanks to those of you in the audience for tuning in. If you're still here, the 176 of you, pinned in the live chat right now is a giveaway for 2 free tickets, premium tickets to round 6. You will hear more about it in the Blue Abroad show. But if you want to just get in early, basically fill in your details. On Thursday, we'll draw out the winner of the 2 tickets. Hit the link and enter the competition. And otherwise, we'll see you at 7 p.m. Pom, good night.
Peace.
Go Blues.